Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam review class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajataham Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam overview. We are discussing from the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And as we know that 9th canto is description of the Chandra Vamsha and Surya Vamsha. So Shukdev Goswami first described the Sun dynasty, and then he is describing the Moon dynasty, how Moon begot Soma from Tara, who was the wife of Brihaspati, and Soma he begot Soma he begot Buddha from the Tara. Soma was born from the Supreme Lord, and this Buddha he begot Sudyumna from the he begot this Pururava when this Sudyumna he was Ila. So Ila Sudyumna became Ila because we have heard the story that he entered the place where Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati were there. So this Pururava he became the king of the whole world, and then we heard the whole discussion of this dynasty of Pururava, and in that dynasty of Pururava, famous kings like he had 5 sons, and we discussed about the 4 sons, and then after that Shukdev Goswami described the dynasty of one of the sons called Ayu, and in the dynasty of Ayu there was a king called Nahusha. Nahusha had 6 children, one of them was Yayati. So we heard the story of Yayati, how he once rescued Devyani because there was fight between Devyani and Sarmishta, and Sarmishta he threw Devyani in the well. So Yayati, by the will of the providence, he also reached the same place, and when he was thirsty, he looked down in the well and he saw that Devyani was there. Devyani requested Yayati to marry her, and then Devyani she told everything to Shukracharya, the father of Devyani. Shukracharya he went to Vrishaparva, who was the father of Sarmishta, and he told that my daughter will marry Yayati and your daughter will go as a maidservant. As a result, Yayati was married to Devyani and Sarmishta, and all her 1,000 friends, they became the maidservants of Devyani. And Shukracharya, he had told Yayati that don't allow Sarmishta to lie with you. But still, when Yayati he begot child from Devyani, Sarmishta also requested him, and Yayati begot child from Sarmishta also. He begot 3 children from Sarmishta. As a result, Shukracharya became very angry and cursed Yayati to become old. Yayati he requested, and then Shukracharya said, you can exchange your youth. with your sons or somebody. As a result, Yayati, he had 5 sons. He requested everybody, starting from Yadu and Anu, Druhyu. Ultimately, Puru, he agreed. And we saw how he was so very happy. He enjoyed the whole kingdom for thousands of years. And then Shukdev Goswami says that even after enjoying for thousands of years, Yayati was not satisfied. So in the 20th chapter, in the 19th chapter, now Yayati, he is developing the feelings of renunciation. So because Yayati, he was enjoying with his wife for so many thousands of years, he was completely disgusted because he was not getting satisfied. And he developed a feeling of renunciation. He told a story of uh, goats, he goat and she goat, to his wife Devayani. So now he tells a figurative story about a he goat and she goat. He says, there was someone who acted like me, and he says, hearing of life of such a attached householder like me, those who have retired from the family life, they lament. Because when the vanprastha or sannyasis, when they hear about the persons who are so very absorbed in sense gratification in a household life, they lament. Because they see that the more a person enjoys in the family life, the more one enjoys sense gratification, the more one goes down in the deep dark well of material existence. Hitvatma patam grihamandha kupam. Griham andha kupam. If Krishna is not the center of life, if Krishna is not the center of family, it is a deep dark well. Yavatkara griham griham yavan mohongri nigro yavan Krishna tejana. Bhagavatam says, if Krishna is not in the center of the house or home, then the attachments, they are like the shackles, and the home is like a prison. So therefore, the renunciants, they lament hearing and seeing the condition of an attached householder. So Yayati says, there was a he goat, and he's comparing he goat to himself, Yayati. He says that the he goat, once he was wandering in the forest, searching for the food, he came to a well. What is that food? That food is, Yayati was searching for sense enjoyment. So he came to a well in which he saw a she goat. Who is that she goat? Devayani. He says he saw that she goat who was helplessly fallen into the well. How this happened? By the will of providence, by the influence of karma. To save the she goat, this he goat started he digging up the earth from the boundary of the well, and that's how he rescued the she goat out of it. Prabhupada writes, digging the earth was a laborious task for the he goat, but still he did it, because that's how in the family life, a person who is so very absorbed, ato griha kshetra sutapta vittai janasya mohoyam aham mameti. In the conception of family life, a person becomes so very absorbed, he does not mind working so very hard. That's why Prabhupada would say that people are working like hogs and asses, very strong, because they are working so very hard for little pleasure. As Prahlad Maharaj says, Kaman alam madhulavai shamayan durapai. After working so very hard whole day, a householder who is attached, a griha medhi, is just hankering for little sense gratification which he gets from his wife and from the children and the things which are related to him. And that's how a person becomes so very entangled. Getting out of the well, this she goat, she desired to accept this he goat as her husband. But there were many other she goats who also desired to marry this he goat. Who are the other she goats? Sharmishtha. So Yati is telling a very beautiful allegorical story. He says there were many other she-goats who were also attracted, because this he-goat, he was a very big, very strong built, nice mustache, big beard, abundant semen, and he was expert in sex life. You know. And then Prabhupada writes, Yayati says that haunted by the ghost of lust, this he-goat engaged in so many erotic activities with that she-goat. Ultimately, he forgot the business of self-realization. That's how the attached householder is. Prabhupada writes, a lusty materialist is like a goat. And very interesting observation Prabhupada gives, that if a goat is sent for the slaughter, even before getting slaughtered, if the goat gets the opportunity, he will enjoy sex life. That is how a person is so very absorbed in sense gratification. He knows the time of death can come any time, but still, he is always absorbed in enjoying. He is not thinking, he is not realizing that death can come anytime. So then Yati says that this she-goat, she could not tolerate that my husband is desired by many other. This because this he-goat, he was engaging in sexual affairs with many other she-goats like Sarmishta. Devyani could not tolerate Yati getting child from Sarmishta. So what this she-goat did, leaving her lusty husband, she went to her previous master, who was also maintainer of another she-goat. So what is that? So this Sarmishta, she left Devyani, she left Yayati and went to her father. Her father was also an attached householder. Shukracharya was also equally materially attached. He-goat, because he was so very attached to this she-goat, he tried his best to pacify her, but he could not. He tried to flatter her, but he could not. The she-goat, he went to a Brahmana, and this Brahmana who was Shukracharya, who was the maintainer of another she-goat, that means the wife of Shukracharya. So what this Brahmana did? Brahmana angrily cut off the testicles of this he-goat. That means Shukracharya cursed Yayati to become old. But then he-goat requested that please, I have not enjoyed this life enough. So he, by his mercy, because this Brahmana was very, very powerful, he restored his old age. He restored his youth. And that's how, by the mercy of Shukracharya, Yayati could exchange his exchange his old age with the youth of his son. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, this is the behavior, this is the relationship between husband and wife in any society. Even Shukracharya was attached to his wife, so very materially interested, wanted to enjoy, and that's how his daughter also was equally interested in enjoying. So that's how the life is. So when this he-goat, he got his youth back, he enjoyed with the she-goat for many, many years. But still, Yayati says, even now he is not satisfied. Even after enjoying for many, many years, this he-goat is now also unsatisfied. Then after telling this whole story, he says, I am like that he-goat, being completely ignorant, captivated by your beauty. And he says, because of my attachment to sense gratification, I have completely forgotten my self-realization. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, if one becomes victim to the Maya and falls down in this deep dark well of family life, forgetting Krishna, Krishna bhuliya jiva bhogvancha kare, nikatastha Maya tare jhapatiya dhare. So Prabhupada writes, very interesting line, unless one is extremely advanced in spiritual consciousness, the nature of the household life is such that one can easily get entangled. So therefore, being the practitioner of Krishna consciousness, being in the family life, being in the world, we have to be really, really conscious and cautious of how we are spending our life. So now, after hearing this, somebody may say, but you are the king, you have everything. How can you be miserable? You know, because Yati saying, I am now miserable. Even after enjoying for a long, long time, I have not become satisfied. I am miserable. You can enjoy with, if you are not satisfied with this much of happiness, you can have more sense objects and you can enjoy more. Then Yati gives his realizations. Yat prithivyam rihiyavam hiranyam pasavastriyah na duhyanti manah pritam pumsah kam hatasyate. He says, Yat prithivyam rihiyavam. Anything in this world, the rice, the barley, the food grains, the gold, animals, women, and so on, hiranya, pashava, striya, na duhyanti manah pritam. They cannot give satisfaction to the mind because pumsah kama hatasya, a person who is victimized by lusty desires, he cannot be satisfied by anyone and anything. Nothing satisfies a person who is lusty. A lusty person, the more you feed fuel in the fire, the more the fire becomes strong. So therefore, a materialist aims to improve his economic condition, but there is no end for it. The desire to increase the material conditions never end because one cannot control the lust. As we have heard the story of Hiranyakashipu, he had everything in life. Saitam nirjit kakube karat vishayan priyan yathopajosham bhunjano natripyat ajitendriyah. Hiranyakashipu had everything. He was controller of all the universe. Apart from Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, everybody was under his control. But still he was not satisfied. He had best of the women to enjoy, he had best of the wines to drink, he had best of everything. Still he was not satisfied because he was Ajitendriya. So therefore Prabhupada writes, to have a satisfied mind, one must give up lust. And how can one give up lust? Only by becoming Krishna conscious. Otherwise it is not possible. So Devyani may say, but whatever amount of lust you have, let it be satisfied by additional enjoyment, You enjoy more. So Yati says, Na jatu kama kamanam upabhoge na shamyati havisha krishna vartmeva bhuya eva bhivardhate. He says, the endeavor to stop lusty desires by continuous enjoyment, it is just like trying to extinguish a fire by supplying butter to it. That's why it is not possible to gain satisfaction by enjoyment. So very interesting, very, very important verse Yati Maharaj is speaking. It is not possible to get satisfaction by indulgence in sense gratification, which is the prevalent concept in today's modern age. You want to become happy, you want to become satisfied, enjoy more. It is not possible. Nobody can be satisfied, nobody can be happy by enjoying sense gratification. That is not the nature of sense gratification. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate. That's why Bhagavad Gita says it is the nature of sense gratification. Dukkha yonaya evate. It is the womb of misery. Miseries will come for sure. If somebody is engaging in sense gratification, miseries are just waiting distance away. So therefore, Chakravarti Thakur writes that unsatisfied desire means constant sorrow, and satisfied desire alone gives happiness. So after describing this, Yayati now describes a remarkable quality of satisfaction. Yada na kurute bhavam sarvabhuteshvamangalam samadrishte pumsa sarva sukhamaya disha. He says, yada na kurute bhavam. When one is non-envious, he does not hate his enemies. Sarva bhuteshu mangalam, does not desire ill fortune for anyone. Samadrishte, he is equipoised. Then sarva sukhamaya dishaha. This is a very, very important verse. How one can be happy in any circumstance, any situation, if he is non-envious. He desires welfare of everyone. He is sarva bhuta hite rataha. That person can only be happy in all conditions. For him, vishwam purna sukhayate. This material world becomes the source of happiness. Why? Because he understands that everything is related to Krishna. I have to use everything in service of Krishna. That is a wonderful nature of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada writes, if one does not show hatred to others, even if they hate or disrespect him, this is a very tall order, but that's what is expected from every one of us. Even if somebody is hating us, we should do the needful, but we should not hate the person. Then all directions become blissful for such person. Such person is called Paramhamsa. He is equipoised. Even if somebody is criticizing him, even if somebody is praising him, Tulya Ninda Sutirmauni Santushto Yena Kenachit Aniketa Stirmatir. So that person is a great devotee. He is very, very dear to the Lord. And then Yayati Maharaj is saying that one should not think that the desires will die in old age. A few days back somebody was asking in one of the classes that, even in the old age, we thought that the mind's, restlessness will go down. But we have realized that mind has become more restless because desires don't die even in the old age. On the contrary, they became more prominent. Because in the old age, the desires remain the same, one cannot enjoy. The instrument does not function. The body is not functioning, mind is fully active. Mind is working full on. The body has become useless. That's why the person becomes more frustrated. If he does not realize that this body is not for sense gratification. Yo dustyaja durmatibhir jiryato yan jiryate tam trishnam dukkha nirvaham sarmakamo dhrutam tyajet. He says, for those who are too much materially attached, dustyaja, it is very, very difficult to give up desires. Even in the old age, jiryate, even in the old age, a person who is so very attached to material sense gratification, he cannot give up material desires. Therefore, Hayati is saying, if you want real happiness in your life, first of all, give up material desires. Give up the desire to enjoy the things of this world. They will never give sense gratification. They will never give happiness. They will never give satisfaction. It is like putting fuel in the fire and thinking that fire will subside. It will become all the more powerful. Prabhupada writes, time can destroy everything. It does not destroy desire. Desires are not destroyed by time. Time deteriorates the body, time deteriorates our sensual activities, time deteriorates our, property or bank balance or whatever things we have accumulated in the world. But the time will not deteriorate our desire. There is only one way to destroy these desires. That is the process of Bhakti Yoga. As Yamunacharya, he quotes, Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde navanavadham nyudyatam rantum asit Aho batanari sangame smaryamane bhavate mukhavikara shrishto nishtivanam cha. Yamunacharya was a great king in the past, Alabandar, and then as a king he had many wives. He would enjoy with them, but then by the mercy of his grandfather sent him a brahmana, and this brahmana, he taught him the very beautiful pastimes, the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and all the scriptures, and he renounced everything. He became a great devotee. After becoming a great devotee, this Yamunachari is saying, whenever because now Yadavadimama Cheta Krishna Padaravinde, now my mind is focused on the lotus feet of Lord. Nava Nava Rasadhamni Udyatam. Every moment I am experiencing newer and newer ecstasies. So, in midst of all these, when the when the thought of sense gratification, when the thought of association with women come in my mind, what happens? Bhavati mukhavikara. My lips, they call in distaste, shushtu nishtivanam cha, and I spit at that thought. That is the natural outcome of a pure devotee when he sees sense gratification. He is not attracted by it. In our conditioned stage, when we are exposed to sense gratificatory objects, we may develop desires to enjoy. We may get tempted. But the pure devotees, they are not tempted. They are disgusted. It is like, just as it is said, that when Bharat Maharaj, he left the whole kingdom, yo dustyajam darasutam suridrajyam ridisprisha jahau yuvaiva malavat uttama shlokalalasa. Bharat Maharaj, he gave up his beautiful wife, kingdom, family, property, bank balance, palace, everything. Just like a person, after passing stool, does not even look at it. He becomes disgusted if he look at it. That is the nature of sense gratification for a pure devotee. He is not interested. So therefore, Gayati Maharaj says that one should be very, very cautious. When one comes in contact with sense gratification, he should be very, very cautious not to enjoy it. Therefore, he says one should not stay with one's mother, daughter, and sister in a secluded place. Matra swastra duhitra va na vivikta sano bhavet balwan indriya gramam vidvamsam api chakarshati. So he says one should not live or sit in a same place on the same seat, even with his mother Matra, Swasra, one's own sister, daughter, Duhitra, because Balwan Indriya Gramam, the senses are very, very strong. Vidvamsam api chakarshati. Somebody may say, okay, senses are strong, senses are powerful, but the intelligent person knows all this. He will not be bewildered, right? No. Vidvamsam api chakarshati. And there's a story when there was one disciple of Vyasdev, when he read this verse. He thought maybe Vyasdev has made some mistake. It should be Vidvamsam api na karshati. So he was thinking like this. He did not say anything. And he went to his ashram. It was night. It was raining very heavily. He heard a knock at his door. He opened the door. He saw a very beautiful young lady, completely drenched in the rain, begging, please allow me to come inside. I am alone. I want to spend the night because it is so very heavily raining. I will just sit at one corner. Please allow me to enter inside. I will not say anything to you. So this sage said, no, I am a brahmachari. I cannot stay with the women. So she pleaded, please, you are a great sage. The nature of a sadhu is he is, compassionate. Please show compassion. So then, after hearing for a long time, this person, he allowed, okay, you go and sit at that place. Don't move. And this lady, she quietly went and sat there. And this person, this disciple of Vyasdev, he went in the other place. But Vidvamsam api chakarshati. His mind started getting attracted to this beautiful lady. He started contemplating on the form of this lady. He became so very obsessed that he went and proposed to this lady that I want to marry you. This lady said, I don't know you, how can I marry you? So he said, no, I am the disciple of Vyasdev and such. He gave his whole description. So this lady, she said, okay, I'll accept you as my husband if you climb on the hill. There was a hill nearby. With me on your back, on your hands and knees, you walk and you take me to the hill, then I'll marry you. And this person was so very obsessed. He said, I am ready to do anything, whatever you say. And this lady, she was sitting on the back and this person was climbing, and then as he was climbing in the heavy rain, he heard the same verse. Matra swastra duhitra va na vivikta sano bhavet balwan indriya gramam vidvamsham api chakarshati. He turned back, he saw Vyasdev was sitting. So that's why a person should be very, very cautious when he comes in touch with sense gratification objects, sense objects. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, desire for women is controlled by proper conduct. But then Prabhupada writes a very interesting line. He says, learning the etiquette of how to deal with the women does not free one from sexual attraction. Even if one knows how to deal with the opposite gender, still he will be attracted to it. This is a psychological fact. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, one is liable to be advanced, one is liable to be attracted if he is not civilized. However, even if one is civilized, highly advanced, materially or even spiritually, he will be attracted by the opposite gender. Vidvamsam api karshati. So therefore, one has to be really careful. Now, after having described how lust is so very insatiable, cannot be destroyed by time, even learned people are bewildered and continues even in the old age. Now, Yati describes his experience of being the victim of lust. Now he's telling, just see my own example. He says, even after spending 1,000 years enjoying, my lust is still not satisfied. On the contrary, it is increasing. So one should never feel that the sense gratification, the desires will go down on its own. No. Unless we work on it, the desires will not go down. So how should one become relieved of the desires? So now he's saying that what I shall do? He says, I shall meditate on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Brahmanadhaya manasam. I will meditate on the Supreme Lord and then I'll give up all the material desires. This is the only way to give up material desires. Param drishtva nivartate. Unless we develop a higher taste in hearing, higher taste in chanting, higher taste in association of devotees, in dham, in deity worship, the lower desires will not go. That's why this Panchanga Bhakti, which is given by Rupa Goswami, Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathuravas Shrimurtira Shraddhaya Sevan. These are very, very important. And nobody can negotiate that, okay, I will do little bit and I'll become free from the material desires. No. We have to be thoroughly honest to ourselves. If we feel that we want to attain this pure devotional service, we have to be honest. We have to be honest with ourselves. So therefore now Yayati Maharaj is saying, I shall meditate on the Supreme Lord. And what I'll do? He says, I shall wander in the forest with animals. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that, I'll concentrate my mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. And then he says, till now, what I was doing, I was a plaything. I was like a play animal in the hands of my wife. From now on, I will become a, I will dance with the Krishna Sara deer and I'll be absorbed in the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, how to become free from the desires, enter the forest. And which is the best forest? Vrindavan. So cultivating Krishna consciousness in Vrindavan is the best means to become free from the material desires. So therefore, if one develops a genuine desire to, go to the holy places where Krishna has performed his pastimes, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has performed his pastimes, then slowly will become free from the desires. Gaur Amar Yeshabh Sthane Korila Brahmana Range Yeshabh Sthane Hiribo Ami Pranay Bhakat Sange. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, wherever Supreme Lord has performed his pastimes, wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has performed his pastimes, I will go to the same, to all those holy places with devotees, not alone. And then he says, when one achieves maturity in meditating on the Lord, then what happens? Then it is possible to stop the material desire. Drishtam shutam asad buddhva nanodhyayena na sandishet samsritim chatmanasham cha tatra vidvam na sa atmadrik. Says drishtam. The enjoyment which we see in the material world on earth, shutam. The happiness which is promised in the future life, that is a heavenly pleasure, asad buddhva. He understands that the happiness of this world, happiness of the heavenly planets, it is all asat. It is all temporary, flickering. Buddhva. And then knowing this, what he does? Na anudhyayen. He does not meditate on those material sense gratification. He does not meditate. Na anudhyayen, na sandishet. And he actually indulges, he neither meditates, na sandishet, neither speaks about it. He neither meditates about sense gratification, he neither speaks about sense gratification, nor indulges in it. Samsritim, because if somebody engages in sense gratification, the result is it prolongs the material life. It prolongs the cycle of birth and death. Atmanasham cha. It is like killing the own self. That's why those people who are interested in sense gratification, they are called Atmaha. They are killers of the soul. Tatra Vidwan, any person who is intelligent, who is aware of this, he is called Atmadrik. He is called the knower of the soul. So therefore, after describing his realizations, Yayati, he ultimately becomes free from all the material desires. He calls his son Puru back and he gives him the youth and again accepts his old age. In this way, Yayati, he became free from all the material responsibilities. He divided his kingdom into his sons. He gave his southeast direction of the kingdom to the son Druhyu, to south to the Yadu. He gave the west to the Turvasu, and he gave the north to Anu. And then he enthroned this Puru Maharaj as the emperor of the whole world. So that's how he divided his whole kingdom. So although Yayati was so much accustomed to enjoyment, he became completely detached within a moment. And Shukdev Goswami gives an analogy. Just like a bird, when develops the feathers, immediately flies from the nest after the wings are grown. Similarly, Yayati became immediately detached. And then Yayati, he became so very absorbed in devotional service. He became free from all the material contamination. He realized that I am not this body, I am a soul. He became cleansed of all the material desires. He became uh, completely fixed in pure devotional service, Amala Bhakti. And he actually attained the spiritual body. He attained the body of the associate of the Lord. By hearing from her husband, Devayani also became detached from all the material sense gratificatory desires. He also focused on Lord Vasudev. She also became a pure devotee. She also surrendered herself. And in this way, she also attained liberation. So Prabhupada writes, that is mukti. What is mukti? Muktir hitvanyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. So Yayati, although he told this story of the goats as a joke, Yayati was talking in a very casual way to Devyani, but Devyani also understood the meaning of Yayati, and Yayati was also equally serious. Although externally he was joking. Because Yayati, he was such a great realized personality, Devyani also became a great devotee. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that Yayati actually indirectly said that you have fully repaid me. I I saved you. I took you out of that well. But you know what has happened? I have now become fallen in this deep, dark well of material existence. So then Srila Prabhupada writes that Yayati first rescued Devyani out of the well, and then Yayati, he rescued Devyani from the deep dark well of material existence also by giving the right instructions. And then after this, Shukdev Goswami says that how one can become free from all the material association? By meditating on the names of the Lord, by meditating on the pastimes of the Lord. And that's how he says, Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Medhase Sarva Bhutadhivasaya Shantaya Brihate Namaha. I offer my obeisances unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev, who is the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation. Vasudevaya Vedhase Sarva Bhutadhivasaya. He is the super soul in everyone's heart. Shantaya Brihate Namaha. I offer my obeisances to that Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada writes, describing the Lord in this way is called Kirtanam. So that's how Devyani also perfected her life. She also went back home, back to Godhead. So this is the end of the 19th chapter. And Chakravarti Thakur, he gives a very, very interesting observation. Ambarish belonged to the Sun dynasty, and we have seen the story of Ambarish Maharaj in great detail. And Yayati belongs to the Moon dynasty. Interestingly, Ambarish and Yayati, they were like, existing at the same time. They were like brothers. Because Ambarish was 8th in the dynasty from Brahma, in the Sun dynasty, and Yayati was also 8th in the dynasty of Brahma, in the Moon dynasty. So Brahma's son was Marichi, his son was Kashyapa, Kashyapa's son was Vivaswan, Vivaswan's son was Shraddadev, his son was Nabhaga, Nabhaga's son was Nabhag, Nabhag's son was Ambarish. And similarly, Brahma's other son was Atri Muni, his son was Chandra, Chandra's son was Buddha, from Buddha Pururava was born, Pururava's son was Ayu, Ayu's son was Nahusha, and Nahusha's son was Yayati. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that because of the influence of Ambarish Maharaj, who was such a pure devotee, Yayati, who was so very absorbed in sense gratification, he also became pure devotee. He also developed great devotion. And by the devotion of Yayati, Devayani also became a pure devotee. Then he says, when the Sun dynasty and Moon dynasties begin simultaneously, who rules which part of the Bhumandal? So when the emperors of Sun dynasty rule the Bhumandal, all the 7 islands of Bhumandal, emperors of Moon dynasty, they rule the Bharatvarsha. And when the emperors of Moon dynasty, they rule the seven Dvipas, emperors of Sun dynasty rule Bharatvarsha. So that's what it works. Then after this, Shukdeva Goswami describes the other descendants of, Maharaj Puru. He says, O Parikshit Maharaj, I have described to you so far the dynasty of Yayati Maharaj, dynasty of this King Nahusha, in which Yayati Maharaj was born. Now, I will describe to you the dynasty of Puru, in which you were born. So, Puru, he was such a great king in the dynasty of this moon. And Shukdeva Goswami says that in the dynasty of Puru was the king called Janmejaya. Janmejaya's son was Prachinvan. Prachinvan's son was Pravira. His son was Manushu. Manushu's son was Charupad. Charupad's son was Sudyu. His son was Bahugava. Bahugava's son was Sanyati. His son was Ahanyati. And in this way, Ahanyati's son was Rudrashva. He married, there was an Apsara called Ghritachi. So from Ghritachi, this Rudrashva, he begot many sons headed by Riteyu. Riteyu, his son was Rantinava. And Rantinava, he had three sons, Apratiratha, Sumati and Dhruva. This Dhruva is different from the fourth canto which we have heard. In the dynasty of Sumati, his son was Rebhi, and Rebhi's son was Dushmanta. So Dushmanta, the story of Dushmant is very, very famous. So Shukdeva Goswami describes the story of Dushmant and Shakuntala. So he says, once this king Dushmant, he went to the forest to hunt. And because he was hunting, he became very tired. He went to the ashram of Kanva Muni. There he saw a very beautiful effulgent lady. Just by seeing this beautiful effulgent lady, he became very enlightened, delighted. All his fatigue was gone and he was agitated by lust. Dushmanta, he spoke in a joking mood. He says, who are you? Whose daughter you are? Why are you in this forest alone? So actually, Dushmanta, and then he says that it appears that you are the daughter of a Kshatriya, because my mind can never go to irreligious things. I can never get attracted to anyone else apart from a Kshatriya lady. That was the conviction people had. That's how when Draupadi was married to, when Arjuna, he won Draupadi, and they brought Draupadi, and Kunti Maharani, without even looking at what was there, she told, whatever you have brought, divide among yourself. Yudhishthira Maharaj said, I think whatever Kunti Maharani is saying is correct. It is according to the dharma, because it has come in my mind. So therefore, Dushmant is saying, I think you are a daughter of Kshatriya because I can never get attracted to anybody else apart from the daughter of a Kshatriya. So therefore, actually, Dushmanta, he was attracted to Shakuntala, and he wanted to marry her. So he expressed his desire to marry Shakuntala. Shakuntala replied, I am the daughter of Vishwamitra, and Vishwamitra, he begot me from this Apsara called Menaka. And after begetting me, my mother Menaka left me in this forest. And therefore, Karnava Muni, he knows all this. She says, because I have never seen my parents. It was told to me by Karnava Muni. So then she says, now let me know, how can I serve you? You can please stay here. You are so very handsome king. Please sit down and rest here. We have some Nivara rice, which is a type of wild rice. You can eat that and be satisfied. If you like, you can stay here. Hearing such words, Dushmanta, he understood that Shakuntala was also interested in marrying him. So therefore Dushyant says, O Shakuntala, your words and reception are befitting, quite worthy of your dynasty. because you are from a dynasty of Kshatriya. Vishwamitra was earlier a Kshatriya, then he became a Brahmana. So therefore he says, your words are befitting your dynasty of Kshatriyas. The daughters of the Kshatriyas, they can choose their husband. So Prabhupada writes, there are 8 kinds of marriage. And one of them is called Gandharva marriage. What is Gandharva marriage? In which the marriage happens by agreement. When the boy and the girl, man and women, they are in agreement with each other and they get married. They don't take into consideration the opinions of the father and mothers, because they get married. So that is the Gandharva marriage. So Shakuntala, she agreed to marry Dushmanta, and therefore she accepted the proposal by her silence. Dushmanta married her, and then after marrying, he impregnated Shakuntala at night, and the next morning he left. In due course of time, Shakuntala, she begot a very, very powerful son. Kanva Muni, he performed all the rituals for this son. This son was so very powerful that he would play with lions. He would capture the lion and he would play with it. So Shakuntala, she took her son, and this son was actually a partial expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shakuntala went to Dushmant and she told that this is your son. Dushmant, he refused to accept them. This Dushmant, he knew that she is Shakuntala and he is my son, but why he did not agree? Why he did not accept them? Because he was thinking that nobody knows these people, So therefore, the citizens will think the king does not have a good character. So therefore, externally he refused. But as soon as he refused, an unembodied voice spoke from the sky. He said, "O Dushmanta, a son actually belongs to his father, because father gives the seed, mother is only a container. Father is born as a son, so therefore maintain your son." Maintain means bharasva. Bharasva, maintain. Therefore the son was called Bharata. Maintain your son. Don't insult Shakuntala. He is your son. So therefore, although Dushmant, he knew all this. And Shakuntala, because she was so chaste that an unembodied voice spoke like this. Immediately the king very gladly accepted both of them. And in due course of time, this Dushmanta, he gave up the kingdom, he gave enthroned Bharat, and he departed for the forest. Bharata, who was the partial expansion of the Supreme Personality of God, he was very, very powerful. He became the emperor of the whole world. He had the mark of Krishna's chakra on his right palm. He had the mark of lotus whorls on the soles of his feet. And therefore, at the time of Abhisheka, he was enthroned as the emperor of the entire world. In his life, he performed 55 horse sacrifices on the bank of Ganga and 78 on the bank of Yamuna. And his priest was Bhrigu Muni. And therefore, when he performed sacrifices, he donated 13,084 cows to each and every Brahmana. And there were thousands of Brahmanas who were attending the sacrifice. And then, for the sacrifices, he bound 33,000 horses. He performed all the sacrifices with such grandeur that it astonished everybody. Nobody in the history had done this, and nobody in the future will be able to do this. So that's what Shukdev Goswami says. And therefore, he is so very glorified. And then he says, Shukdev Goswami says, there was one sacrifice called Mashnar sacrifice. In that sacrifice, he gave a charity of 14 lakh elephants. These elephants had white tusks and black bodies. They were completely covered with gold ornaments. All these actions of Bharata cannot be imitated by any king of the past and will not be imitated, could not be imitated in the future also. So this Bharata, he defeated and killed so many of the lower castes people who were against the Brahminical culture. He destroyed and killed Kirata, Hunas, Yavanas, Poundra, Kanka, Khasha, Sakhas. And then he rescued, once there was a demon who kidnapped the wives of the Devatas and took them to Rasatal. Bharat was so very powerful, he rescued all the wives of the Devatas and gave them back to the heavenly planets. During his reign, he provided all the necessities of life, and in this way, for 27,000 years he was ruling. He distributed all his soldiers over all the kingdom so that the peace in the kingdom may be maintained. After ruling the kingdom for so many long time, he ultimately renounced everything. And he took Vanprastha because he thought that this family life is an impediment. And then Shukdev Goswami describes the story of the dynasty of Bharata. He says, Bharat Maharaj, he married 3 daughters of the king of Vidarbha. So these daughters, these queens, they had actually they begot children, but these children were not resembling the father. So the queens became so very afraid, thinking that, the husband, king, will reject us. Out of that fear, they killed their own sons. So therefore, Bharat had no son. So Bharat, he performed a sacrifice named Marutastom to get a son. Marutas, being pleased by the sacrifice, they gave him a son named Bhardwaj. Who was Bhardwaj? So Shukdev Goswami describes the story of Bhardwaj. Once Brihaspati got attracted to the wife of his brother Utathya. This wife of Utathya named Mamata, she was pregnant, but still Brihaspati desired to enjoy sex with her. And as he approached Mamata, the boy, the son in the womb of Mamata, he objected. He said, the son in the womb of Mamata said, there is no space for 2 children here. Brihaspati cursed that child, become blind, and forcibly impregnated Mamata. So Prabhupada writes, that's how sex impulse is so very strong that even a great learned scholar like Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the Devatas, is becoming bewildered under the influence of the sex desire. Then what to speak of ordinary people of this world? Therefore, only if somebody is very strongly rooted in Krishna consciousness, as we can see in the story of Haridas Thakur. Ramchandra Khan sent a prostitute to entice him. On the contrary, the prostitute became a great devotee. Parama Mahanti Hoila, he says, so Kaviraj Goswami says that this prostitute, she became Parama Mahanti, Bada Bada Vaishnavatar Darshane Teyanti. Great Vaishnavas would come to have her darshan. Prasiddha Vaishnavi Hoila Parama Mahanti, Bada Bada Vaishnavatar Darshane Teyanti. She became such a great devotee. That can be possible only by the process of devotional service. Therefore, this Brihaspati, he became so very overwhelmed with lust that he forcefully impregnated Mamata. Due to the curse of Brihaspati, the child who was born, he was born blind. His name was Dirghatama. So what this child did, when this Brihaspati impregnated Mamata, he kicked the semen of Brihaspati with his heel. The semen fell out of the womb of Mamata and immediately was transformed into a child. Mamata, she rejected the child because she was fearing my husband will reject me. So Mamata did not accept the child, considering that this is an illegitimate child. Demigods saved this child who was born. Brihaspati, he told Mamata that you should take care of this child. You should not fear your husband. This child is born from your womb, is your son. You have to take care of your child. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that Brihaspati was actually the Bharta. He gave the seed. He was the Bharta. So according to Vedic scriptures, a wife is considered to be the property of the husband, and a son born by an illicit sex life is called Dwaj. So therefore, the uh, Brihaspati, he found it difficult to give a name to this child according to the Vedic scriptures, according to the regulative principles. And Mamata was also perplexed. Demigods gave the name to the child Bhardwaj because he was born of illicit relation. Both Brihaspati and Mamata wanted each other to take care of the child. Brihaspati is saying, you maintain the child. Mamata is saying, this is not my child, this is your child. You maintain the child. Both left the child and went away. So that the child was lying there. Mamata was saying, oh Brihaspati, you should maintain him. You have done a wrong. You have forcibly impregnated me, although I was unwilling. This is your child. You have to take care of it. So saying this, both of them left the child. The demigods, although they encouraged Mamata, no, you please take care. But she was so very embarrassed to take care of the child. She did not do it. She left. So now considering the child as a helpless person, Maruts, they maintained the child. And Bharata, when he desired a child, this child named Bhardwaj was given to Bharata. And that's how Bharata begot a son. So that is the end of the 20th chapter. So we'll end here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any questions anybody has? Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.